So I want to tell you all the story about how I met an angel this summer, and it's a really cool story. So I'm coming back from doing a mission camp at a orphanage, and it's a really cool orphanage in Florida. They can actually take sibling groups of orphans because the way they have it set up, the kids have like parents that they call aunt and uncle in their lives, kind of people that work there, and they're just able to take sibling groups in the way they have those houses set up. So I grow up in Florida. I meet with family, stay with my grandparents on either side, my aunt and uncle. And as we're coming back to my house, coming back home, driving back up, we stop at a Steak and Shake gas station combo somewhere. And there's not many of those, I don't think, so you could probably find it. But there's a Steak and Shake gas station combo. And as I'm about to get out of the car, I see kind of through a window, like outside, like this red duct tape wrapped orb or like plastic ball. It was like a walking cane I saw earlier, a walking stick. So I get out, and there's this old guy, had to be at least 60 or 70 the way he looked. He was wearing brown clothes, like different brown t-shirt and shorts, I think. And his eyes were kind of light blue, but like glazy, like hazed over gray. Like you could tell that he was blind just from looking at his eyes, right? And he was just completely blind, couldn't see anything. He was just looking ahead. And so as I'm kind of walking past him to go onto the sidewalk or toward him, I say, hey, how you doing today, or something like that. And he replied, I'm hot and I'm hungry and I'm tired, I think is what he said. Or hot, hungry and blind, or hot, hungry, tired and blind, something like that. Mentioned being blind. And so I said, I'm sorry to hear that. And then I said, remember Jesus loves you, and went to walk away with my family. And so I said, remember Jesus loves you. And the only thing he replied to me saying that was, I don't know if I'm going to eat or when I'm going to eat. I don't know if I'm, or I don't know. He said, I don't know when I'm going to eat again or if I'm going to eat, in that order. And I said, walking away almost under my breath, but he might have heard it. I just said, all right, well, I might see you in a sec. And then walked off with my family. So we go into the Steak and Shake, and I'm talking with my family, and I'm like, look, the guy's not asking for money. Like, let's just buy him a burger. You know what I mean? Let's just buy him a meal, a burger and fries. It's not gonna, ruin our lives. So we want to help this guy. It's not like he's gonna ask for money and do bad things with it. So we are obviously buying him a meal. We order all of our stuff after a while, and 5 minutes later, I walk back outside, and I'm going to go to my family. I'm going to go talk to him. So I walk back outside, and he was just, he had slowly walked up, and he was just like kind of sat against the wall there out front of the Steak and Shake. So I come out, and he's gone. And I'm like, what? So I'm looking at the gas station, like where the cars are. I walk to the side of the building. I'm looking around the side of the building, like this guy is just gone. He just disappeared. So I go walking past the gas station, look at the gas station, look at the other side of the building, and I passed this guy sitting almost in a corner by like where the ice box is, where the bricks kind of go into the building. So he's sitting in a corner in the front of a gas station on the ground, on the concrete. And so I walked past him. I forget exactly what, but I said something like, God bless you, or hope you have a good day. And he said, yeah, I said, God bless you. He said, God bless you back, some kind of nice interaction like that. So I checked the side of the building, and I'm like, the blind guy is gone. Like, he just disappeared. Like, it's crazy. So I walk back, and I'm still trying to look for this blind guy, and the guy's sitting on the ground. I'm like, hey, is there anything that sucks in your life right now that I can pray for with you about? And he said, well, yeah, I got kicked out of the house, and I'm schizophrenic, so my parents kicked me out of the house, and I'm homeless, living on the street. And eventually I ended up sitting down on the curb with him. And so we're just sitting there talking, and I was like, I don't know what it's like to be schizophrenic. And he was just talking about, his struggles with it, and how, he had been on meds at one point, and it dulled everything so much to where he had to be put in a psych ward for a while, or some kind of, care place like that, because it had made him so bad trying to be on drugs for it. And so I was like, yeah, I've seen people on videos that have cameras set up so they can look at the video feed on their phone and be like, nope, you're not real, and sort of get those things to go away. And he said, yeah, but for me, it's not like that. For him, he struggles more with voices in his head, audible voices in his head. And I was like, I don't know what that's like. I'm not going to pretend to know what that's like. That's terrible. And so I'm trying to love him in that. And I noticed he had a Jesus loves you bracelet, and then he had another bracelet that he had told me was a Bible verse that meant a lot to him that had actually worn off from him, kind of snapping himself with it, and that somehow that helped him bring him back to reality rather than the voices in his head. And I was talking about just inviting God into every situation and talking to God about those things and listening to that voice. And he said, yeah, that's the only thing that gets me through the day. I'm always talking to God. I'm always inviting God into these struggles, and really trying to just grow in the presence of God, really trying to know that voice over anything else. But yeah, more than anything, like he was like, yeah, I genuinely do invite God into everything. And I'm like, that's great. So I prayed over him. I think I laid hands on him and prayed over him, and it was great. I told him, I'll definitely be praying for you in the future, and whether we die tonight or we die sometime in the future, or when Jesus comes back, like I will see you again soon at some point. We have eternity together in heaven. And just he was thanking me for bringing that encouragement to his life. And so my family comes over with the food, and they're like, hey, where's the guy? I'm like, this is the guy. And then I had told the homeless man the story, and so he was a pretty young guy too, young adult. And he was like, no, they're probably talking about the blind guy, because I had told him what had happened. And I was like, no, but this is the guy we're giving the food to. The one guy disappeared. So we give him the food. Like I said, I said, I'll be praying for you, seriously. I still do pray for him from time to time. I did today, and especially telling the story today. And yeah, so it was a really great interaction of me being willing for God to use me, especially coming out of a season of not being so, addicted and wrapped into my own comfort as I am now, and so enthralled by YouTube videos and wasting so much of my time, but actually living and serving people with my time. And so that's maybe what made me able to be willing and humble myself in that way, why God brought that about. But we come back in the car, and me and my mom kind of at the same time were like, that was an angel. That's kind of crazy. And so the blind guy, like, there's no way I would have ever gone and talked to or bought a meal for that guy sitting in the corner of the gas station on his own like that. I wouldn't have probably talked to him or prayed for him. I would have got my steak and shake and left the area and kept driving home. And so an angel had appeared, this blind guy, and led me to, encourage and have a great conversation with and buy a meal for this guy who really needed it. And it was so cool how God orchestrated that. And kind of an ending to the story, but my mom, soon after we got home, told that story to one of her coworkers. And even before she finished telling the story, saying like, blind guy, and then my son is sitting out there talking to this guy, her coworker was like, that was an angel. And she was like, yeah, well, that's what we made of it too. And so it's just a really cool thing. I got to meet an angel that led me to help this homeless man. So I guess, that's a cool specific story. And as for a takeaway, just never get in a place where you think that a problem is too big for God. God works so many miracles all the time. And so if you can just have faith and surrender, God can take care of the problems. Things that look like there is no way from our perspective, God can orchestrate things and bring people together, and there are people that are willing to help you and love you. And it seemed like a small thing looking back at it, but it probably meant a lot, that encouragement to him in his life. And God does so many bigger miracles. I know people who have had miraculous healings just because of faith in God and prayer together. And there's no way to explain. Doctors are like, look, you needed surgery. Things were completely wrong in lots of different capacities, and different people, different capacities, but now it's miraculously healed. And so whether it's the need for encouragement, or the need for things to survive, or the need for physical healing, like God is so much bigger than those problems. He created every atom of the universe, every atom of your body. He made your soul, your existence in his image. And so the more that we can understand that we are weak and humble ourselves, not saying that we are less, but humble ourselves just looking at how great God is, that's real humility. And that's where we can increasingly trust in God, because Jesus said we will do the same works he did and even greater works. So what would it look like for you to live your life believing that, for you to live your life waking up and saying, God can move and perform miracles today, and I'm going to be willing. If God calls me to go pray with this person, I'm going to go pray with them and believe that he is greater and he can do any miracle. He could spawn a cat right here if it was in his will. Not that it usually is, but he can do anything with his purposes. You can use anything for your good and for your growth for those purposes, and anything you pray for in his name, he'll do. So if it is going to be used to glorify God, that somebody is miraculously healed and their life is used for the glory of God, then pray for that, because God promises it will come. And it might not come when you want, how you want, but God promises it will be done for you. So fix your eyes on heaven and trust that God is greater than those situations, because he is sending angels to orchestrate these things. He is working people together to encourage each other and speak to each other. And I hope that this is a timely word for you as God speaks to you and, reconciles you into the new family that he's making. So we're all one under the banner of Christ. Hope you have a great night.